if someone wants to keep their period, okay, hey, we can help them do that, because a lot of juiciness, our fertility hormones stay at their peak, like youthful levels. And that helps our brain. It helps cancer prevention. It helps cognitive, flexibility, and even metabolic flexibility, which we all want, because you probably know the horror stories. Second someone hits perimenopause, menopause, their weight goes up 30, 50 fucking pounds. Okay, sorry, you might have to delete that. It's frustrating as heck. They start can't sleep at night. Last time they couldn't sleep was when they had babies. Okay, that makes sense. You sleep with a baby, or you're highly, listening for the baby, and you don't sleep, you're not in that deep REM sleep. But to have, menopause and trouble sleeping, that's when the gut health starts going down, when people are getting stressed because they're not resting and fully rejuvenate. Also, we need a certain level of estrogen and progesterone just to have a tight gut. So it's not just like a tight butt, but a tight gut. And you need a certain level of hormones. It doesn't have to be huge. And what we do is we help people be in the anti-cancer zone. So having a good ratio of estrogen to progesterone, and not excessive estrogen dominance, which is going to lead to proliferation and masses, benign or not, and malignancies. So yeah, I think this is a great time for women. We are in our wisdom. We've already gone through a couple decades of, learning bullshit. And now we're ready to share a lot of our wisdom.
No, that's so great. Okay, so hormones and gut health. I knew that the gut was linked with hormones, but I hadn't really thought about the link of the hormones back to what your gut health could be. So talk to us about the link between hormones and gut health.
So just like our lean mass, when we lose too much estrogen and progesterone, it's much harder to gain muscle. Women have to exercise heavy lifting and reps 25 to 50% more to keep the same muscle mass. Otherwise, there's 3 to 8% loss every year of muscle mass. Sarcopenia. It's just
wow. 3 to 8% per year?
Per year, yeah, after age 40.
That's a lot.
And actually after age 50, 60, I think it goes up quite a bit. It might even be crazy, 20, 30% loss every year. That's why a lot of elderly, they look kind of decrepit and they start shrinking their bones, right? And literally they can't keep up their physiques. It's hard. So that's how we help people in regenerative medicine. The safe amount of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And we even look at people for GLP-1 and other hormones. GLP-1's a hormone, thyroid's a hormone, DHEA, pregnenolone's a hormone, progesterone, estradiol, estriol, all of these are hormones. Testosterone is really an important one. So and thyroid and parathyroid, these are all hormones. But they're also, many of these are peptides also, like insulin is a peptide. And we can have high insulin to the point of diabetes as we age. And all of this is tied into the gut health, actually. Because if we don't have a tight gut, anything in there, like undigested food or digested food, even bacteria, yeast, they start to go into the bloodstream. And our body, our immune system being as good as it is, it will want to eliminate it. And that's when allergies start to happen. And instead of being young and youthful, where immune systems can be easily balanced with sleep or a little bit of rest, when we're older, these allergies become dominant and they create disease instead of just being managed easily because of.
Got it. Yeah. So when you say a tight gut, is that almost the opposite of leaky gut syndrome?
Exactly. Yeah. Leaky gut can happen with stress, just like that.
Really?
Yeah. Any kind of stress with cortisol. So it's a steroid, right? Cortisol will instantly break the gut.
Interesting. I did not know that it could be instant. I figured it was it had to be chronic over time.
No, like endurance athletes, I used to do talks about endurance athletes. There's a lot of studies on them because they're generally really healthy. But when they go into training, extensive endurance training or an event, they're stressed out. They get a lot of gut issues. Loose stools, diarrhea, but also worse, even ischemia. So it's like a heart attack of the gut because their blood is being shunted from the splenic bed, the gut, to where the blood needs to go during the vent. So that's the big muscles, the glutes, or if they're upper body work, it's, wherever the muscles are, they're going to require that blood flow and oxygenation. Then it goes away from where it's safe, for the gut. And then during that time, the gut can start to have issues. And if there's too many parasites in the gut, too many yeasts and SIBO, bacterial overgrowth, then it creates health issues after the endurance event, after the training.
Got it. Okay. So for people in menopause and perimenopause, as their hormones are changing, it can result in their gut getting leakier unless they're kind of proactively addressing that.
The worst thing is they can develop autoimmune disease. Those are on the rise after the hormones wane. It can lead to cancers, right? There's an epic level of cancer right now, in addition to autoimmune diseases. And it's all related to the gut. The longer we can keep our gut super tight, the longer our health is. And peptides are a big key to that. All peptides are regenerative. All peptides are mildly or a high amount. They help the gut, and they also are antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, antimold, antibacterial.
Wow. Tell us more about that. Like, what is a peptide for those of us who don't know?
So peptides are part of proteins, all right? But they're under 50 amino acids. If they're bigger than this chain of alphabet, amino acids, then we call them polypeptides. And then if they're really big, we call them proteins. So kind of like when we eat eggs, the white, or steak, or a plant protein like beans or lentils, there's protein in there that our enzymes will break down to utilize as a protein. But there are certain fragments, that our enzymes actually leave alone, because across the animal kingdom, insects have peptides, birds, lizards, everything on earth, even plants, right? They have peptides, and they're regenerative for the host or the people eating them. And they're so regenerative that they, when they're tiny, they even go into the nucleus of the cell and they modulate the DNA. They turn on and off genes, always usually in good ways for healing and anti-inflammatory benefits. And they're incredibly healing. So the one we use a lot is called the Wolverine. A couple influencers. I've been on in Ben Greenfield's book, Boundless. He loves to talk about the Wolverine peptides. So there's 3 peptides there. TB4, which is thymosin. It comes from the gland near our heart. And it calcifies as we get stressed. Kids over age 3 now even showing that their thymus isn't functioning. It's calcified, fatty, it doesn't work. Anyone over age 20, it's also very involuted. Stress will cause it to involute and not work anymore. That's why stress is so terrible for everybody. We want to de-stress as much as we can. So because we don't make a lot of thymus peptide as we age, I prefer to give it to people in the Wolverine. So the Wolverine is also thymosin alpha 1. It's 2 thymus peptides, because this gland is so important for our immune system. So it's got TB4, which is super regenerative. If people have scar tissue, it just goes away. If they have like fatty liver, fatty pancreas, which is calcified liver or calcified pancreas, or heart disease, which is calcified peripheral vasculature or coronary arteries, right? Heart. Those calcifications go away with TB4. It's incredible. And then there's TA1, which is strongly antiviral. It literally can make the viral load for hepatitis B and C go down to 0. We have a couple case reports HIV goes to 0 too.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll prevent liver disease related to hepatitis B and C. So people who get fibrosed liver or go into liver transplant, failed liver disease, right, with hepatitis B or C, there are many reports where TA1 normalizes it. It's actually a pharmaceutical, an orphan drug. So that's why it's so powerful, And then the last peptide is called body protection compound, BPC 157. We sell all of these on our website. It's called thegutinstitute.com/peptides. And I have a consult, if people want like a customized plan, I'd love giving that to people. When I have clients and friends, colleagues and athletes I work with and executives, we have them consider doing 2 to 3 cycles at least of the Wolverine. So those are 5 days each. And they just report old injuries like backache or lumbar, disc pain or fracture or whatever, like it just goes away. Hip pain, knee pain, shoulder, elbow disappears and doesn't come back. Yeah, some people are in the middle of an injury. Even in 5 days, it'll be gone. Yeah, crazy.
That's fascinating. So are peptides found in natural sources as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, because they're in everything.
Examples of that?
Yeah. Animals have it. So some of our original peptides. Okay, so Pavlov did studies. He's the original reward doctor on to studying animals, dogs, canines, about BPC 157. He was taking stomach extracts, and then he was trying to pare down, what in there was so healing, because he gave it to different rodent models of disease, and he would just see immense healing with the stomach extract. And so he found one fragment. I think it's 15 amino acids. It's BPC 157, and it's made mostly in the gut, but this peptide works on the whole body. Like for instance, it's the whole middle Slavic block. They did studies with BPC 157. They gave it to like an animal model that they were giving a lethal dose of arsenic. Now, if these animals had BPC 157 on board already, they not only thrived, but they appeared to be like resilient, Wolverine, bulletproof against arsenic toxicity. And the animals who didn't get it, they died. They got a lethal dose of arsenic and died. But if BPC 157 was on board, they thrive, no problems. Same with brain injury. They give it to animals already having brain injury. It'll heal a lot of it.
Wow.
Same with TA1, actually. TB4 is even more powerful. If an animal hasn't had a brain injury yet and it's got PPC 157 on board, or TB4 even, when they gave a brain injury, they were resilient, bulletproof, didn't gain any brain damage.
Wow.
I know it's terrible studies, right? And then in another model, they cut the Achilles heel or some other tendon, right? If they would give BPC, not even in the site of the injury, that tendon would reattach and heal.
That's crazy.
It is.
So for people like in menopause and perimenopause, what could peptides do for them?
Yeah, perimenopause and menopause is a fun time. You know, we often will have people do hyperbaric oxygen or other ancillary healing like acupuncture, you know, and doing qigong or other energy work. But with BPC 157 and those other hormones, peptides I talked to you about, if we do a couple rounds of it, people just feel more their youthful self. What it can help is lower weird inflammation, especially gut. And then that liberates more healing for the rest of the body and more bioavailable hormones is what studies show. Like even if the testosterone level, progesterone level, estrogen levels are the same, what happens is they're more bioavailable. They're binding the receptors more concisely, sensitively. There's sensitivity at the receptor level, basically, because there's less inflammation. And people just feel younger. They're not dealing, you know, with as many age-related problems, aches, pains, fibromyalgia, cognition, brain fog, gut issues, allergies. It just is like really healing. And people, what peptides do is they stay there until they like get more inflammation, but it helps to keep their health once they get better until they do more things, you know, like athletes are constantly pounding their body, right? Like we all pound our body too much. So then then it's going to backtrack, but actually the health will stay really fastidious for a while. That's what I love about them. They're almost permanent.